I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mrs. Norian, would you lead us in a flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sunshine Law Statement, all requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been met for this meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Oradell. Notice of this meeting was filed with the Record and Town News and all persons requesting such notice. Mr. Darian, would you read the mission statement?
The Oradell Public School District is dedicated to the ongoing pursuit of educational excellence through comprehensive, innovative curriculum and instruction. The district is committed to providing opportunities for social, emotional, and academic discovery to foster curiosity, courage, and character. Our goal is to prepare our students to become lifelong learners who are self-directed, resilient, productive, responsible citizens.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mrs. Acosta, Mrs. Negum,
Here.
Mr. Griffin, Mrs. Norian,
Here.
Mrs. Shapiro,
Here.
Mrs. Walker,
Here.
Mr. Walsh,
Here.
Mr. Darian,
Here.
Mrs. Nichols.
Here, open to the public for agenda items only. Not seeing, we'll move forward. We need to talk about our board retreat. The 11th was taken, so I'm proposing July 14th. Not everybody has to be there, but that date was taken, so can everybody do that Thursday, July 14th?
What time?
Probably 5:30, 6 o'clock probably.
Yeah.
At
Most
Riverdale.
likely.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I just don't know if people, there are dates, we want to do it earlier in July to give the admin time to work on things, but I don't know if people are around the week of 4th of July, so I wanted to avoid that week maybe. Okay, so shall we set it for July 14th? And we'll just plan around
Yes.
5:30, 6 o'clock, and we get closer, Will. And hopefully Matt still has that date.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So then on our calendar, the only other meeting we're going to have that month is the 27th. There's another meeting, I think, the week after. We're going to cancel that one, and we're going to make our original board retreat date, the 27th, our board meeting. So it's already on your. Okay, so moving forward to the superintendent's report.
If you have driven past Oradell Public the past few days, you have seen a lot of activity outside. We had our first field day in quite a while. This week it was chilly, but they definitely had fun with the Maroon team triumphing. They learned today. We also tried something new this year, and so often our older students are always the leaders. They're always the one that get to do things. So we tried to figure out a way that our younger students could be the cheerleaders of Oradell Public Schools. So today, they actually cheered the older grades on as they get ready to start NJSLA testing. So every grade was matched up with an older grade. So 6th grade was matched up with 2nd grade. The 6th graders came outside, and there was actually a cheer for them. It was pretty exciting, and I think especially for our 2nd graders, it was a chance for them to shine. Our kindergartners did it, I think, with 1 grade. Our 1st graders did it with 2 grades. But it was a way to say to our community that it doesn't matter if you're older or younger, there is a way for everyone to give something to make the community stronger. Additionally, we have some very exciting events coming up. We have our production of Moana on May 12th, 13th, and 14th, and our students have been busily practicing in here. There are some really hard songs, and we won't put Mr. Butcher on the marker on the spot right now. However, I do hear that he practices in the car driving to and from school because they are tough. Normally I sing along. I don't sing along this year. Additionally, on the 15th, we have something that's never happened before. We will be sending 784 members of our community to the Mets game. Because we are sending so many students to the Mets game, our 6th graders will be singing God Bless America during the 7th inning stretch, and one of our 3rd graders will be throwing out the first pitch. Everyone who bought tickets had their name entered in a raffle to throw out the first pitch at last night's PTA meeting. The name was pulled, and I learned today that when his mother told him, he just started crying because he is a very big baseball fan. So once again, just reminders that so much is happening, especially in the spring. We do see a return to more and more events that we've seen in the past. And again, just a sign that as a community, we continue to always be working together, whether it's the PTA, whether it's our teachers, whether it's our students. And that concludes my report.
I forgot to ask something during my report. Do we have an Odyssey update? Yeah, I thought so.
Sure. Our Odyssey of the Mind team placed second at the state tournament, which means that they will be traveling to Ames, Iowa to compete in the World Championships. Now, what happened at the state tournament was New Jersey has the most participants in Odyssey of the Mind, so they actually allowed everyone who went to the state tournament to go to the Worlds, but we did actually qualify. So had it been any other year, we would have. And the team that beat us, and I've been very proud of our Odyssey of the Mind team. We are competing in the middle school division because we have one sixth grader on the team. They beat 6th, 7th, and 8th graders from Milburn Middle School in one of the portions of the competition. So they are really holding their own, and after the World Championships, we'll have them here to talk a little bit and share some of their props and their event with you.
Thank you. Business Administrator report?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I'm going to be presenting on the final budget for the 22-23 school year. So the good news is not much has changed for the last presentation, so I'll probably go through it fairly quickly, but if you have any questions, please just let me know. So as I mentioned, not much has changed since the last presentation. Still, the budget's going to be the same as far as what the tax levy is and what the total budget amount is going to be. We've still aligned our budget to these three goals, and this has been our kind of guiding light as far as how we've been going through the whole budget process. So here, once again, this is just a quick recap of the budget process. It's a balancing act between our revenues and our expenditures. There's many meetings that happen between myself, administration, finance committee, and we just start to figure out where we're at. We start to iron it out. Are we in a surplus? Are we in a deficit? And then from there, we review the budget, review our goals, and then try to balance the budget. So one thing that has changed from the last meeting that we do have to address is the use of bank cap. So from the last resolution that we had, the bank cap amount has changed, and that's due to the overturn in the Chapter 44 assessment for our district. So long story short, Chapter 44 is a new piece of legislation that was brought into place for the health benefits of the school district. And if there was any savings that the district had received from these health benefits, it would go directly to offset the tax levy. What had ended up happening was the criteria that was used by the state to gauge what our savings was wasn't the best use of data, so we had filed an appeal with the county, and it was overturned, and we were able to have all of that negative impact removed from our budget. So it was going to be almost $118,000 issue, and it was overturned by the county. So bank cap, just for anyone that's not too familiar, we received bank cap due to a large increase in enrollment from the last school year. Bank cap is something that does expire, so there's 3 years for the district to use it. If the district doesn't use it within that 3-year period, it goes away. So it just goes back to the state. We don't have to use it all at once. It could be spread out over 3 years. The total that we received was $493,350, and the total that we're utilizing in the 22-23 budget is $48,101. So just to give a little bit of a background of why we received the bank cap, you could see as the difference between 2020 and 2021, we received approximately an additional 43 students. And once you receive an increase in enrollment, it goes through a formula from the state based on weighted average, and that's how we were awarded the additional money. So now getting back to the budget itself, this is a listing of our revenues. As you could see, the majority is funded from the local tax levy. Over 90% of our budget is funded from the tax levy. The $400,000 is money that we had from last school year left over that we decided to help fund this school year. The state aid, we saw an increase in state aid, as I'm sure you've all heard. The extraordinary aid, we made a conscious decision to decrease this number too and be less dependent on this, as this could be something that's taken away from us. And everything else pretty much remains flat. The withdrawal from current expense for the emergency reserve and the adjustments for prior encumbrances, that's just two aspects that affect this current budget year that we're in and will have no bearing on next school year's budget. And here's all of the expenditures. I know it's a little bit tough to see, probably the numbers are small, but the first grouping up top, that's all of the expenses that's related to the instruction of students. That's salaries, supplies, everything that's directly going to affect the students. That's remained pretty much very, very little bit of an effect, any kind of change to it. The major changes that you could see is on the support services. So for instance, the first line, the tuition, this is for out-of-district students that we're sending to private schools. So that went up about 22%. This has to do with tuition increases. So these schools are allowed to increase their tuitions as much as they like. They don't have a cap on their increase. And we also included some placeholders in case we needed to send additional students out of district. The guidance line here, we had made our guidance counselor full-time, so that reflects that large increase. We were offsetting that with some of the CARES Act money, but now we're going to have to fund it with our own budget. And here's, I think this is always a good snapshot just to kind of put it into perspective that the budget is really 75, about 3/4 of the budget is going to be made up of the fixed costs between salaries and benefits. This year it was a little bit tougher because we're in a negotiation year, so we don't know what the actual amount is going to be for next year's increase. It's a little bit of a moving target, but the majority is going to salaries and benefits. After that, it's other purchase services, which includes the out-of-district tuitions that we have for private schools, the insurance for the school district, and out-of-district transportation costs. And then after that, it's pretty much, it gets really small with professional and technical services, which is our IT services, legal, audit, architect services. And then from there, it just kind of dwindles off. So just a couple quick things about some of the cost-saving measures that the district goes through. So as the school district, we look to save in any way possible. One of those ways is we participate in many cooperative purchasing contracts, which is pretty much consortiums that go out, they do the bidding process for us so that we don't have to do the bidding, and it saves, usually it's a lot of time and money. So we can get things done relatively quickly. On top of that, we're also going to continue our membership with Region 5, which is based here in River Edge, Oradell, approximately 8 districts currently, and we look to them to help us with any of the special education services that we can't provide in-house, such as the OT, PT, and transportation routes. We're also in a membership with the Northeast Bergen Insurance Group, which is NESBIG for short, made up of many districts in the Bergen County area. And what's good about this is we can use economies of scale to get better pricing on our property casualty and workers' compensation insurance. Lastly, just one thing to mention, we also outsource our technology services to Bergen County Technical Schools, which provides us with an on-site IT professional, systems and network support, and consultation for future technology projects. Now for the tax impact that the budget is going to have, as you can see, it's made up between debt service, which is something that we're obligated to pay based off of prior year's referendums, and we're on a schedule to pay that off, and then our general fund, which funds our general expenses, our current operating expenses. Adding into that is the bank cap, and we're at approximately $13,096,611. Based off of the average assessed home in Oradell, which has gone up quite a bit, the average assessed home is now valued at $597,871, and that comes to about an increase of about $90 a year for the average taxpayer. So this is what will be voted on tonight. This is the final budget resolution. So on the top, our total budget, $14,637,930. Of that, $13,096,611 is funded by the tax levy. So after tonight's adoption of the budget, we're obligated to post a user-friendly budget to the website within 48 hours, so that will be on our district website. We have to submit the paperwork again to the county, and then I'll be certifying the tax levy with the borough. And if anybody had any questions?
Mrs. Walker?
The banked cap, now we had a surplus this year because you brought it back and discussed the need for it. Where does that money go? The extra money, are we limited to what bank account it goes in or no?
So we're not limited specifically to where the money goes. It goes into the general operating budget, so we can see however fit we want to spend that money. In this case, I believe it was, I can't pinpoint exactly what it was for, but it could be anything from salaries to supplies, but it just has to go towards the general operating budget.
Okay, great, thank you.
I have one question. So again, on the bank cap, is that, so did you mention it was 483,000, something like that? Right?
493.
493, okay. And then we're basically claiming 48,000 of that for this upcoming year, is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And then we are supposed to use up the remainder within the 3-year timeframe, or I'm not sure I understood that.
Yeah, so we don't have to use this money. This money was specific for the large increase in enrollment. So we have so there's a timeline on this. We have 3 years to spend this money. So we chose only to take a little bit of this money because it does affect the tax levy a little bit, so we wanted to be mindful of that too. But at the same time, this money will go away eventually, and the reason why we did get it was for the large increase in enrollment.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
We have a 2% cap, right, for the state. So you can't go over 2%, except if you have certain circumstances. So the banked cap is what you're allowed to go over. So technically, we could have gone over our 2% by 493,000, but we're not going to do that to the taxpayer. So we took 48,000, and we have in reserve for next year if we need to. But you can't go over 2% except for these circumstances that the state will allow you.
And sorry, just one more follow-up question. So the 48,000 that we are using up for this upcoming year, is that going to have an impact on the tax levy at all?
Yes, it does. So instead of being a 2% increase, it is what, 2.39 something? So
Okay.
Is 29 or 39? 39, right?
39.
So it's instead of a 2% increase, it's a 2.39.
Got it, thank you.
Mr. Walsh?
Can we look at bringing back some of the students that we send out?
Mrs. Bozios, would you like to talk to that?
Sure, we actually are bringing back one student already next year, and we continue to look at what programs we need to have in place that we send children out when we don't have a program that meets their needs within the district, right? So the child we're bringing back, we know we can meet his needs, and we'll continue to look at what programs we can add. And very often, the problem with that is space. We often need additional rooms for those programs, and as we know, space is a premium in our building. But we will continue to look at that.
Because we are at a disadvantage if those schools can raise their fee 22%. I know we tried to get them to lower it unsuccessfully,
That's something the state needs to deal with.
yeah. But if we took the children back, if we could take the children back, it would save the district money.
John, on slide 6, the aid from the state, I see last budget was $628,000. This upcoming budget is $790,000. It's an increase of basically 7%, that the state is increasing their aid to us. Is there any other aid that we're getting from the state besides $790,000?
Sometimes we don't know till the end of the year, right?
Yeah,
We
one
don't
of
know.
those is the extraordinary aid, which we're
We won't
actually
know.
filling out the application for right now, and we won't know until, usually it's around July.
But doesn't that extraordinary aid that we get cover our expenses? It's not just aid that's without earmarks?
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted just to comment that our total budget of it's 13,096, and when you say it's being funded in the 22-23 year from tax levy, that's another word for the residents of Oradell. So, basically $790,000 comes from the state, thank you very much, on a total base of 13 million. So I always say, and I'm going to continue to say, that our school is self-funded through the local residents.
Actually,
And-
it comes to us on a 14 million base, not a 13, right? Because the 13 million is the taxpayers.
Closer, yeah, it's closer to.
I'm sorry?
It's really on the 14 million base, right?
13.8,
Yeah.
13.9.
Where do you see 13.8?
Can we put that slide back up?
Can you
Because-
put- yeah,
We
Because
have
some of
it
that
on
is
the
debt
SEC.
service, right?
Keep going. So this is our 13.8, right? So here,
Yeah. Yes?
okay, yeah. So 7 out of 14 million, really.
Okay. Yeah, so that even makes it worse, right?
But can you reconcile this slide to the next one? Can we have hard copies next time? I thought we were going to have hard copies in our packets.
Yeah, yep, okay,
Because the whole board should have them in their packet for these presentations. Yeah.
Because we don't have anything to refer
Yeah,
oh,
it's
I'm sorry, I thought they
'cause-
were in the packet,
Yeah.
okay.
No.
So, so this is 13,896, right?
Mm-hmm,
And the slide before was 13,888.
yep, so what this is also taking into account is, down here, it's the capital
28.
outlay, so it's really this number, and I know it's hard to read. This is the number that ties to the revenues.
What number?
13, yeah, 13,896. Is that it?
So 13,896.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of want to reconcile it to the final budget resolution page because I'm not following it a little bit.
Okay.
I see, 13,888, not 896.
Right, well, let's keep going, that's the next line, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, yeah, I want to reconcile that to
This one,
this one, right?
yeah.
We have to do this.
Oh. I think because it's capital expenditures, Fund 12.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the different delta, the 28,
Yeah, you can see.
What's that number?
Oh, geez.
28.
96 minus 30, I think. It's all right, I mean, you can look it
So
up later.
the expenditure slide must be a prior slide then, because it's what's on the resolution for tonight, the 13,888, that's the correct number.
Okay, so then can you go to the final budget resolution slide? So the 13, right. Go to
13,888,083.
the fund. Okay. So how do we get from general fund 13,888 down to 13,096? Is that the 790? Like,
From which number?
I guess I'm just trying to tie into your budget at the top. The number we're approving is what? 13,888.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And John, in
And-
So
slide
that-
10,
Yeah,
it's 13,096.
so that number is inclusive of the state aid figure,
The 790?
the 790, 72, and I believe the 50,000.
Oh, because that's not a tax impact. That's what the delta is,
Okay.
700 change. They should have
Okay.
that specified, that it should have listed on slide 11, John?
Mm-hmm.
Or, no, I think it's slide 11. I think you should have started out with 13,096, so that it matched slide 10. And then you should have added the state aid, 790,000, which equals the general fund 13,888, right?
Does it?
Mm-hmm.
And then with the special revenue debt service, the total is 14,637. So,
Mm-hmm.
but our total budget is the 13,888, of which 13,096 is the tax levy.
Okay. So the 13,896 is nothing. That's the one that's off, right? That
That's-
expender one?
That's correct.
That one's off, right? The 13,896? Is that off?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
from the expenditure slide.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, anything more to your report?
Actually, just there's one more thing with the personal financial disclosure statements. If anyone hasn't done them, they're just due
Oopsie.
by April 30th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, and thank you for all your work on the budget. Good job. Okay. Moving ahead, minutes, we have the review of April 6th and March 23rd. If you have any questions or comments, please email Mr. Marmora. We have approval of March 9th and February 16th. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve March 9th and February 16th.
Second by Mrs. Walker. Any questions? Call the question.
Mrs. Negum?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes on March 9th, abstain on February 16th.
Mrs. Shapiro?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Administrative items. Mr. Darian, would you take that?
Yes, we have several items, A1 through A4. I'd like to just make a note. This week, or I think it's today, is Administrative Professionals Week. And I think today is Secretarial Administration Day, right? Out of the whole week, they get a day too. So, I don't get any days, by the way. I just want to say that. So it's hard for me to relate. But, my wife went out today. She'll kill me for saying this. And she had a date at the spa, thanks to her employer. But no, I don't get anything like that. So anyway, but just like to recognize all the hard work that we've done, that the administrators and the professionals do in the building. And then secondly, on A2 proclamation, specifying that this week is also Teacher Appreciation Week. Next week, excuse me, May 2nd through the 6th is Teacher Appreciation Week.
I'll second A1 through A4.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Any questions? Call the question.
Mrs. Negum,
Yes?
Mrs. Norian,
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes. Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Darian?
Yes. We did not have a meeting since our last board meeting, but I don't know if anyone noticed, we had the interior, the central parking lot paved over the break. It's looking awesome. So within a year, we've had both parking lots completely milled and repaved and striped. It looks brand new. So it's a refreshing experience now that, it looks clean and nice. And of course, the expenditures is listed in your packet under the check register. So, but with that, I'd like to introduce items B1 for facility use.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions? Call the question.
Mrs. Negum,
Yes?
Mrs. Norian,
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes. Curriculum, Mrs. Norian?
We have not had a meeting, and there's no report at this point.
Finance Technology, Mrs. Shapiro?
We have not had a meeting, so I also do not have a report, but I do notice in what we were about to approve is that we are about to officially place the order for the chairs for the auditorium, and that's fantastic news because I know that had the big lead time on it, right? And if we want to get this thing going, that order had to be placed. So I'm really pleased to see that this room is going to be transformed in hopefully just a few short months, or however long it actually takes. I'd like to make a motion to approve items D1 through D12.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions? Mrs. Negum?
What is item D9 for?
Oh, Mrs. Bozes, you want to talk about ed data?
Oh, I could talk about that. Okay, so D9 is one of the cooperative purchasing agreements that I had mentioned in the presentation. So this is a company called Ed Data, and it's for time and materials. So that would include construction services, and actually we used Ed Data for the Center Street parking lot. It did come under the bid threshold, but we didn't have to solicit additional quotes because they did all the legwork.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Call the question.
Mrs. Negum,
Yes?
Mrs. Norian,
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes. Delegate report, Mr. Walsh?
I have a delegates assembly meeting on May 14th coming up.
Going to be voting on any resolutions? That you know of?
Nothing
Probably
that
not
I
yet.
know about, but I will check.
All right. Personnel, Mrs. Walker?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to present F1, but before I do, I just wanted to say, as we all see under retirement, that Mr. Terry McGill will be retiring, and it's a great loss to the school. And God bless them to be able to be retiring and having a good, healthy life, so. But we certainly are going to miss them.
I'll second the motion.
And with that, I'd like to present one through 9.
Just F1.
Just that one,
Because it's on this one, it's just,
yeah.
right?
F1?
One.
Yep.
Mr. Walsh, you want a second?
Yes, I'll second it.
Mr. McGill said he's coming back to do sharp, right? We have him, you have him on record?
Oh, good. Make sure it's written down.
Exactly, recorded. Any questions? Call the question?
Mrs. Negum,
Yes.
Mrs. Norian,
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker,
Yes,
Mr. Walsh,
Yes,
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes, policy, Mrs. Negum?
We have not had a meeting, and I have nothing to report.
Public relations, Mr. Griffin is not here. Mrs. Walker, the last meeting, we were going over the brochures, and that's where we're at, right? We're going to do push the website off to the summer. So I guess we'll wait till then to, I
Yeah,
guess, set a
I don't-
meeting or
I
whatever.
don't think we've had a meeting since last meeting here at the board.
Right, okay. And COVID task force, we haven't met. Anything you want to add to that, Ms. Bozios? No? Okay. Open to the public. We're so happy you're here. Just come say hello, because we never get a parent, if you're a parent. And Mr. Butcher, come on up. Oh, no, never. We're happy you're here.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
You're always welcome.
Okay, moving forward then, any old or new business? Mrs. Walker?
This is, I guess we call it new business. Both Catherine and I got an email from Kelly Castro, the president of the PTA, asking if any board members might be interested in helping out on Saturday at the Tenafly Nature Center. They're apparently having a large hoorah there, and they could use some extra help. So if you're available, I have a sign-up guru thing I can email to you, and you can sign up for it. I also presented it to Rotary too, in case someone might be interested. That's this coming Saturday, and they're expecting over 600 Oradell families, Oradell people there. So any help would be greatly appreciated.
Any other old or new business? Mrs. Needham?
Yeah. So I'm looking at this school fundraising request form on Odyssey, and I noticed there was a fundraiser that was created by the parents as well. So the question is, do we not budget for this item in our school budget typically for funding the finals?
Originally, we did. It becomes a very exorbitant cost every year. It is $4,500 for the truck, $4,500 for 4 children to travel. So we will help them, and we did also come up with another fundraiser for them. And in the past, we've always assisted them with any fundraisers they have, but they do have some money saved already. So they have $1,700 in their account that they have fundraised in the past as well. But we pay for regionals, we pay for states, we pay for the registration for the World Championships, and we pay for Ms. Sham to attend, to travel, and the daily OEA rate that she is due for an overnight. So we do put considerable funds into it. We just found over time that the truck was one thing that we needed help with parents on. For Worlds, as I said, we do pay for the truck for regionals and for states.
Mrs. Shapiro?
And I think, like we always say, there's no guarantee that they'll, I mean, she has a great track record, but there's no guarantee for Worlds. But when I was actually, so many things this week, seeing the kids outside for field day, like, it's just what a joy. And actually, the lollipop fundraiser, they love selling the lollipops, and the kids love buying them. So that's also like a really nice return to It's so sweet.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
sorting the lollipops today, actually. So
In
this is a
bins.
nice way for them to be invested in,
Yes,
in helping to
yes,
send
it's
themselves.
it's
They
great.
also, student government was several years ago, did a fundraiser for grocery bags that didn't take off well with what's happening right now and the no more plastic bags. Student government gave Odyssey their bags to sell. So they'll be also selling, I think there's about 300 or 400 of those bags. So that should also really help them as well. And they'll sell them along with the lollipop sale.
Okay. Again, I mean, maybe just a comment, right? I know we fund, I mean, based on what you just said, we do fund a considerable amount of this. But the kids are investing a lot of their time already. So it just kind of feels like, oh, now, we're making them do one more thing, just so that they can fundraise, right? They're spending, I think, most weekdays and weekends in the school already preparing. So I just feel like we're burdening them with more.
The other option, truthfully, is it could be a pay-to-play program, which is what many districts do. Parents, pay to participate. We've just always, and they could pay for the truck, which would have been pay to play.
Right.
So,
Right.
but I do believe that they're going to be fine with it.
Just to add on to that, so I had a child who lived here for the year preparing for, the competition. And what's nice about this fundraiser, it's a big bang for your buck. Like, it's an hour and they make the money back quickly. So it's not, I know what you mean about the kids are like exhausted and spent, but this is a high profit and quick turnaround and high demand product that pleases the whole community. So it's maybe a different way to look at it. Thanks.
I actually have a question. Where did I saw the, about student government, I saw something about raising funds for Ukraine. Did we get a copy of that? Because I see the one. Did you approve it? Was it approved? Something though, right? Okay, I don't know. I don't know where I saw it.
Those items that were sent.
Okay, I don't know where I saw it. Okay, is that
And
what it is?
there was a photo
Okay.
on Instagram of
Okay.
the actual items
So not
being
a
shipped.
So not a fundraiser for
I
Ukraine.
I don't think so.
Any other questions? Or any other old or new business? Next meeting, May 11th, plan on coming early. We'll send an email around 5:45, 6 o'clock. It is our non-tenured review evening before the meeting, so just plan for that. It'll probably be a long night. We're going to be doing years of service. We're going to be doing Teacher of the Year, so plan a long evening.
So when you say, okay, so plan on, like, come early, like,
Well, we're
what,
going to send an email. It's going to be a closed session ahead of time.
like 5 or 6 or so?
5:45, 6, somewhere in
Okay.
there.
Got it.
We spoke,
When are they selling the lollipop? When are they selling the lollipop?
Next week?
Actually, they'll be selling them at the Tenafly Nature Center this weekend as the first day. And then in your packet, there are some additional days. I know next week is, I was very interested today. I've never seen them so happy to sort lollipops. They don't come separate by flavor, and they actually had to sort
Yeah,
thousands of lollipops. They were so happy.
yeah. I think that that's part of it, and I understand what you're saying, Pooja, but being part of raising the money for your trip is so worthwhile. That's more fun than often the work it takes to get there is raising that money. So, okay, thank you.
Mr. Walsh?
I've seen the fundraiser request, but I don't see times.
Is it on the back?
Oh, it might be, I don't look in the back usually.
No.
Saved a tree with double siding.
I think there's 4 dates, and it says immediately after
It's on
school.
the Post-it. You see that yellow Post-it?
It's on the yellow
I
post.
see that, there's no times. After school.
Are you going to come stock up?
If they have the lollipops ready.
That's right.
They should be selling them on Saturday.
They are.
Yeah, they're going to.
Okay. So they take advantage of 600 people in Shiloh.
No.
Anything else? Any reason to go into a closed session? If not,
Move to adjourn?
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Walsh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good week.
It's going back.